Hello Maclean and welcome to my channel. So today I am in a different location and I am speaking to someone incredibly special. If you would like to see what I am doing today, then keep on watching. If you would like me to bring Hogwarts to you, then why not subscribe to my channel? Let's get started. Okay, so you've got loads of headspace, so I needed to move it over a little bit so it's...
What, my head or the camera? They're going to angle.
No! Right, are you comfy? That's the main thing.
I'm
right.
comfy.
Good, okay. Do everything afterwards. So I just want to say though that we've literally been trying to set this up for the last, like, I don't know, 10 minutes. Janice wants to do a YouTube channel and she's actually looking at me thinking, why the hell do I want to do a YouTube channel when Victoria has this much fuss to deal with? So we're all set up. I'm breathing. So I am here with Sean Valentine of Valentine's Miniatures and I had to send, this is how bad it is, I've had to send my questions to Janice, who is here with me. Hi Janice. Who's here with me because I forgot they were on my phone and I'm using it to film. So we are going to start with, so hello Sean, how are you?
I'm okay, how are you then?
I'm really nervous. This is my first interview on my channel and Janice is trying so hard not to laugh. I should have us both in this. Okay, so I've got a few questions for you, Sean, because obviously you've made some incredible miniatures.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful miniatures. So the first question I have for you is how long have you been making the cabinets for?
Best part of 12 years now. I think it'll be good 12 years.
12 years you've been making these cabinets for?
Yes.
Oh my god, so what got you started doing it in the first place?
It was actually my niece wanted a doll's house for her birthday. So of course I thought, well, I fancy doing something myself. Right? I didn't want to give her a basic gift off the shelf. So basically bought a flat pack doll's house kit, put it together, decorated it.
Yeah.
And a few people turned around and said, actually you could sell something like that. So didn't want to sell her birthday present, so she had hers and I bought another one and then basically redesigned all of it, painted it, decorated it, put it on eBay and it sold in less than 24 hours.
Oh my god, did you think though that you'd be any... But you obviously had a job as well, did you, when you were doing this? So this was just like a hobby or...?
It was a hobby. I was actually working for Estée Lauder Cosmetics at the time.
Oh my god.
So I was working for a cosmetics company. So always been a creative person and always enjoyed making things anyhow. So of course this was like a bit of a challenge. Never done woodwork before, so good thing I had instructions because God knows what they look like other.
Was it anything like the IKEA instructions?
Yeah, it was. It was most, yes, I think it was Old Dutch actually, it wasn't actually English.
Oh my life.
So you had to follow the pictures, but they weren't exactly going according to plan.
But it must have worked because she must have loved it.
Yes, I did. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it was from then it spurred me on to do more and basically self-teach myself as I went along.
How did you do that? Was it just like trial and error, or did you watch YouTube? Or?
YouTube. Main thing I used was YouTube. Basically, just go into YouTube, type what you're looking for, and it'll pop up. And there's always people who post things of how they made this and how they've made that, and basically just follow them. And then as time goes on, you improve yourself as you go along. And of course, you create more skills. And of course, that's what I've done with my own website. Then is I basically pass on my skills over to other people because it's the best thing to do is share.
So this is like me and my collecting.
Yeah.
I show them where they can get it and how they can get hold of it and how they can look after it.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love what you do. You're so clever.
Taking photographs to film myself to get better ideas what these things look like, and then basically adding my own twist on it when I actually make it.
When you start building cabinets, or when you start thinking about what you want to do, what's the first thing? Tell me about the process. Walk me through the process of how you actually go about going from the idea of it to actually having a finished product.
It's usually sitting down watching the Harry Potter films. Gotta watch them first. And it's basically something that will grab me, like a room, and it's something really interesting and unusual in that room, and that then starts ticking over the ideas in my head. So I basically just pause the film, get out a sketchbook, and then basically design some basic plans of what the room's going to look like. And then again, going back to YouTube, freeze framing parts of the film, taking photographs to film myself to get better ideas what these things look like, and then basically adding my own twist on it when I actually make it.
See, just looking at it, I mean, I look at the scenes and they blow me away, the amount of detail, but to do full size is crazy. To do miniature of the scenes must be completely mental and so difficult.
It's hard, but the best way to do it is to actually, when you make something, look at it through a camera lens as if you were looking at a full-size item. If you look at a miniature item through a camera lens and it looks like it is a full-size chair, then you've done it right. If it looks like a piece of junk, then you've done it wrong.
What do you do if you're not happy with it? Do you take it apart?
Take it apart and redo it again. That's the only way. Or if it's like not far off, maybe repaint it, add some new extra bits to it. But if it's terrible, it just gets basically chucked in the bin and start again.
Oh my god, the amount of people that would probably want to search those bins.
There's a lot.
To look at those items. So which Harry Potter cabinets have you made so far?
Oh god. Oh, no, where will you go? There's quite a few. So I think the first one was the Gryffindor Common Room, followed by the Defence Against the Dark Arts.
Yeah.
Then it was Dumbledore's office, was after that. And I think we then did the Gryffindor Tower, I believe, was the next one after that.
Great Hall.
Oh, it's a great hall, isn't it? Great hall. That was it.
Your
that
PA
huge
is
one.
here.
The huge one. The Great Hall. I just lost. There's so many. I've lost count of them all now. There's also a few of my own personal collection, which is the Tapestry Room from Sirius Black. You've also got another version of the Gryffindor Common Room, because I never make the same miniature twice. It's got to be a completely different version of it.
What makes you not want to do I mean, I love the idea of you doing the unique items, but what makes you think that you don't want to specifically do that item again? Is it because of like replication? You don't want to just kind of...
I don't want to... Basically, when I make a miniature and somebody has it, I want that miniature to be unique to that one person. I want them to have the enjoyment that I had when I made it, and the fact that they know that I'm not going to make another one as well. So they are the only person that will get to enjoy that miniature. It's basically, it's made for them, and I won't do it again.
That's so lovely though. So between thinking about the item that you want to make and actually seeing the finished product, obviously I suppose it depends on size and so on, but roughly how long are we talking time-wise between thinking about it and actually finishing that item? Is it like, you know, a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months?
It's, I think, from drawing it on paper to getting a basic shell together is about 2 to 3 weeks. When you actually do the work inside, that's what takes the time. And of course it depends on how big the miniature is, for argument's sake. I mean, something quite small, not the Great Hall, which is quite a large one. But I think the first Gryffindor cabinet that I did, of course that was a learning curve for me, because the materials and that I'd never used before, because it was all real stone, real glass, real wood. So that did take me about 6 months to do the first one. The second time then was the Defence Against the Dark Arts. That was a little bit less time because I picked up a few skills on the way. It took about 4 months. And then it's the bigger miniatures, for argument's sake, like the Great Hall, that took not far off a year. And it's the same as Dumbledore's cabinet. Even though it was a smaller miniature, there was a lot of detail that went in there, and that's what took the time. So it took, again, nearly a year to do, because you've got to get it right. If it doesn't look right, start again.
When you do the cabinets, do you focus purely on one cabinet, or can you work on multiple cabinets? Because I'd have to focus on one thing because my brain doesn't work that well. So I'd have to do one item, and then when that's finished, I'd be happy to work on another one. But then, is that how you do it, or do you work on different ones over time?
I do quite a few at the same time. It's easy because once you've got one idea and you're actually making that one, you'll then get more ideas for another one. So of course, I tend to have 2 or 3 on the go at the same time. So if you can imagine that one takes 6 months, the other 2 have also taken 6 months, but it's in between. I like to keep myself going. I do quite a few at the same time. It's easy because once you've got one idea and you're actually making that one, you'll then get more ideas for another one. So of course I tend to have 2 or 3 on the go at the same time. So if you can imagine that one takes 6 months, the other 2 have also taken 6 months, but it's in between. I like to keep myself going.
Because I suppose drying products and stuff takes a while, doesn't it? Yeah. So you can do that.
Yeah, well, while you're waiting for it to dry, you basically move on to the next one and do something on the next one. So you're constantly doing something, and that's the best way to do it, I think.
Could I throw in a question?
Of course you can. Hang on, the camera's going on you. Yeah, go
Can
on.
I just ask you, up to now, which one is your favourite? Have you a favourite? And you've enjoyed doing more than any of the others?
The one I think I enjoyed the most, I always find the one that's the most challenging I enjoyed the most. So there are 2 of my favourite, which is, one is the Great Hall, because I'd never done the effect of a floating candle ceiling. That is what I thoroughly enjoy doing, because it's more magical to do something like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed doing that, and even though it's quite big, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I have to say, it was Dumbledore's office, because it was such an unusual shape. It was oval. I always worked in square boxes. That's the way
Was that the first time you'd worked on something that was already pre-built?
pre-done. It's a
Because
pre-antique.
she's got
I've
the actual
actually got
antique
the-
cabinet in her
yeah.
attic.
Yeah.
It was trying to find, because all my miniatures are always square or they were rectangle. I wanted to do something different. And of course, because the cabinet Dumbledore's is actually modelled on the memory cabinet,
Yeah.
I had to have something different. I was going to have a hexagonal one, but I thought, no, it's a little bit different. And it literally was walking past a little antique shop, I spotted the cabinet.
Perfect.
And I thought,
remember you spotting
that is perfect. So obviously dismantled it and took a lot of it apart and rebuilt it again the way it looks now. But again, I thoroughly enjoyed that because again, it wasn't straight lines to follow, it was curves, everything was different. So it was challenging, but it was more enjoyable. And that's what I enjoyed about it, is the challenge.
And we're quite proud to own them, aren't we?
Oh my God, yeah, I wish we owned all of them. But we've got no space. You've got a problem with one of your hands that I think anybody would normally not be able to do something so unique as what you do, but I don't understand how that doesn't seem to hold you back, your problem with your hand, and it's incredible. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, it was an injury when I was a child. My hand was actually burnt when I was 18 months old. I've had about 13 operations on it altogether, lots of different ones. There's not much use in the hand, but the only two fingers I do have a lot of use with is a finger and thumb, and that is all you really need for miniature work, is just these two fingers. Because everything is so small, so if you're picking up anything, the first fingers that you would use to pick up any item is your finger and your thumb. So of course I am ambidextric, I can use my left and my right hand, but it's because my right hand had been in plaster most of my life, so I had to learn to use my left hand. So of course, even though I'm right-handed, it is the left hand that does a lot of the work. So it's basically the right hand's used for holding glue. It's about the only thing that it does. But it doesn't set me back. It's basically, it's one of the hurdles in life. Something happens, you've got to get over it. There's no point in thinking on the past if things have been different, because if you think of the past, you'll never move on with your future.
You've been unwell for quite a few years now. You're obviously not working at the moment. You were working in a salon before and you've had to give that up. Can you tell me a bit about what's been going on with you over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it started off with something really quite simple. Is I was having pins and needles in my hands and at my feet. And of course, with the line of work that I was doing, I literally thought it was standing for too long a period of time, using my hands too much and paid no attention to it. And you'll find the majority of blokes, we just ignored simple things like that. But it was when my eyesight started to get worse, it just didn't seem quite right. Something was quite wrong, and I used to get out of breath quite easily, and which wasn't me. So of course I actually went to the doctors and had a chat with them, and they did a few tests and they came back and they said, we think you may have a condition called sarcoidosis, or you may have MS. They said, we don't know, we need to run some more tests. I said, not a problem at all. So it's been a roller coaster ride. It's taken nearly a year to get a diagnosis, and it was sarcoidosis of my lymph nodes, and unfortunately it has mutated and it's gone into my central nervous system, which is called neurosarcoid. So of course it affects my memory, affects my eyesight, hand to eye coordination, walking, everything is now affected by it. So a lot of the miniatures now, they do take a little bit longer to do. You might see a load of photos in one go thinking, Christ, that was quick. It's like, well, no, actually it's been a couple of months and I just haven't posted any pictures until I've got enough pictures, and then I'll post them all in one go. I could have a week, 2 weeks where I physically cannot do anything. Can't use my hands, can't even walk, can't even talk or get a declarative sentence together. It just doesn't work. So of course, when I am feeling well to do it, I'll basically plow into it. But the problem I get then is I actually make myself worse by trying to do too much. So hence, unfortunately, my miniatures have become smaller. I don't make big miniatures anymore, and I just literally physically can't do it. So I ended up doing smaller cabinets, and of course it's a good thing in a way, because these smaller cabinets everyone wants, because it's so small, they can fit on a shelf, which is the other cabinets that you couldn't. You'd have to get a wheelbarrow truck to
as Janice found out last year. Was it last year or the year before?
Been 3 years. It's been 3 years.
What, since the
years
Great
now.
Wall
It's been
cabinet?
about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
been
God,
quite a
I have
while
one a
now.
year.
You do. Oh my God. So when you have these kind of, when something happens, it must be really frustrating for you knowing that you can't, because you are so active. You are a very, very active person, and you're constantly having to do something, as we know, when we told you not to do too much, and you went against everybody. So how does that affect you though on a day-to-day basis when that happens?
It can be very tiring through the day. I normally do tend to go for a sleep in the afternoon, because if I don't go for a sleep, towards the end of the day, come 6, 7 o'clock, you just feel so tired, so drained. It feels like you have been in work all day, but in the blistering heat is the best way to describe it. So of course the only problem with the condition is the fact then that you end up with headaches, because you've basically been looking at things for too long. Headaches, you get earache, your arms and your elbows, everything starts to ache because you've basically tried to do too much. When I was first diagnosed with it, I was still working at the time, and of course I was working in the salon. And it was my neurologist and my doctors and the respiratory team said that you should not be working, you're actually making your condition worse. So I was like, you're fine, I'm going to carry on. So I did, I carried on for another year. Everything was okay, but as it came towards that end of the year, I think it was when I went to go to work in the morning and I couldn't walk down the road, I thought, that's...
Because you're literally you were right by your work, weren't you? Just
literally
down the
a couple
road?
100 yards on the road. And I literally managed to walk 20 yards on the road, and I had to sit down and my legs just didn't want to move. So of course from then I thought, I rethink, I need to stop. So I actually then unfortunately had to what I call medically retire from work, which is frustrating because I've worked since I was 16. Over 20 years I've worked. And it's always been with the public. I always like to be front of house, chatting away to everybody, and to be basically at home and not going out. It can be quite frustrating. So hence then more ideas have to come in for the miniatures to keep my mind occupied on something else.
Because you've now turned your guest room into your studio, haven't you?
I have, yes.
And we're just literally like oogling over the studio because it's just it's a heaven for us. Janice has taken half of it home. I'm marking up which one I want next. It's such a beautiful place in there. It's nice to be able to get away from it all in there.
It's a break away from reality, because when you start making miniatures, you can actually go into your own little world, and it's only you in that little bubble. So of course then all your ideas start popping in your head. It is handy, you should have a bit of background noise, and it is unfortunately really sad, but it is a Harry Potter film. It's usually background.
Yay!
Give me that noise, because then it does give you the imagination to carry on, because if one of the characters could say something, it's like, oh, actually that's a good idea. And of course, you could be just watching the film and a room will pop up like Argument's Hagrid's Hut, and it's like, well, actually that looks quite interesting. I might give that a go for once. So it does give you ideas all the time as well. And of course, at least then when you've actually got background noise, you know you're not alone. There's somebody actually there with you. And of course, even though it's characters in a film, it is a bit like family or friends in the background. So I've always got to have background noise when I'm doing it. And of course, it's being in the public all the time. You are used to all people natching away.
The salon was busy, wasn't it?
Very busy.
Constant.
Loads of conversations, and that's the one thing I miss, and that's why I think the films are in the background, because it's like having that little bit of gossip in the background.
Well, the amount of times I've walked in here and it's been on TV. It's like either he knows I'm coming or that is generally what he does. Which, out of all the cabinets you have made, Harry Potter or in general, because I know obviously you've done a lot of kind of timepieces, you've done Cinderella and so on, which I absolutely loved Cinderella. Which cabinet has been the most challenging for you to do?
The most challenging was the Great Hall, because it was a lot of 3D and optics, which is really, really unusual to do. And of course it was going into the realms of printed perspex, which I'd never used again. And of course I actually had to get a few people on board to basically come up with some ideas for it, because there was things lighting effects I've never done before, and of course the rooms are all curved and they're odd shapes, and of course that is the time I thought, this is a real challenge, it's something different to do. And the biggest challenge for was the floating candle ceiling, because the amount of prototypes that I did trying to get it right, and of course nothing worked.
Trying to hide the lighting and stuff you struggled with, didn't you?
It was really hard to do, until eventually then I was actually watching, I think it was a program on TV. A lady's actually decorating the house, and she had this vinyl transfer which she put over a window, which was semi-translucent, which had like a lake effect going around it, and I thought, that is what I'm looking for, is that effect, but with obviously with clouds is what I had then. So of course then it muted the fact that you couldn't see the wires from the electrics, but you could see the candles when they were lit, so it actually gave that effect then of the floating candle ceiling. So I think that was the most challenging one I had, was the optical side of it.
It was so clever. the fact that you could see the sky on your... Janice actually has that cabinet, and it is just to die for. It is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life to get it into my house, because if you look at this picture, you'll see this is literally just the inside of the cabinet. The actual external part was in the van, but we had to get it down my neighbour's driveway, over their wall, past my patio, through my French doors, just to get it where you see it in this photo. And then we just about had a photograph with it, and then it went back out again, over the wall, up the driveway, back in the van. It was absolutely mental, but that cabinet was to die for. It was so beautiful. That sky was incredible.
I had to have it.
You had to have it. And I'm surprised you didn't get divorced because of it. I'm surprised you didn't get rid of John just to get that in.
What, 3 of us to get it in the van?
It was mental, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, which cabinet out of all of them has been the most fun to build?
Oh, now that is a good question. I think I've enjoyed building all of them, I really have. But I think the most enjoyable one was a cabinet which a young lady had, which was actually 3 rooms in one, which I have never ever done before. I've only ever done 1 room. So to have a challenge of having a Gryffindor common room, the boys' dormitory, and the grand staircase at the same time in one cabinet was a challenge, because I had never done it before. So I think that was quite a challenge, and it was quite fun to do as well.
And it looks fabulous in my
Yeah.
attic. So I
see
actually had to have a turntable to turn it round so you can see every room, every detail.
It's the
and it
perfect
looks-
size for it though, because
Yeah.
it's round in circumference with the 50p
Yeah.
shape.
Yeah.
But I like doing with the Dumbledore's one. You've got the mirror set on the back. So I'd love to have something where I can turn it round, but I couldn't do that because it's obviously oval.
Yeah. So I had a gentleman friend of mine, Paul Wilbraham, and he
Yeah.
actually made it for me.
You're spoiled. So which cabinet would you like to make in the future?
I
And
would.
bear in mind, Janice is literally listening with all ears.
I know. I know.
Be careful.
I would like to do, but I won't be doing it, would have been the full-size version of Dumbledore's office, because the office I've done at the moment is just his main office. I would have liked to have done it where you've got the gallery of portraits before you actually go into his office, and also the back room. Again, it would have been 3 rooms into one, because it was a challenge doing it the first time, and of course I succeeded with it, so I wouldn't mind doing it again. But because I've already done it once, I won't do it again. But I could do a different side of Dumbledore's office, which I haven't done, which is the room that he goes into, where you've got all the glass bookcases all around the walls. There's all the trophies and everything in there. I'm not quite sure, I can never remember the name of the room, but it's the room behind his main office that he goes down into. So that might be a challenge, and I think I know somebody who'll probably have it straight away because they've already got part of it.
It would be wrong for me not to.
And there is another challenge as well. Is I've done the staircase, two different versions of it, but I have been tinkering around with actually having one with moving staircases.
I was actually thinking, what about doing, obviously, as you're walking up to Dumbledore's office, you've got the gargoyle that goes up.
Yeah.
You know, you've got McGonagall there and little Harry there, and I don't know what it is. It's just like a normal stone hallway, isn't it, going up to that one? That would be lovely. But yeah, the moving staircases.
The staircase would be a good one, because it's basically probably be a cabinet which would be glass on 3 sides, and of course you'd be able to see the staircases actually moving. That would be something different and would be a challenge, because it'll have moving parts into it, which I'm not used to using at the moment.
But you would try, because it's
Oh, I
you.
try. I'd give it a go. Definitely give it a go.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, Sean, and thank you so much for allowing me to
Very
do this.
welcome.
I will now leave you guys. I take care, and I love you all, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye-bye. Want to check out more of my content? Take a look at this video right here or this video right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.